There comes a time in your life when you must pull back, not out of fear, not out of weakness, but out of understanding. You begin to see that noise does not mean progress and movement does not mean growth. You start to realize that the most powerful transformations happen in silence. You don't need to announce your healing nor broadcast your becoming. The flower does not tell the world it's blooming, simply blooms, and the world takes notice. Focus on yourself, not in the selfish way the world may accuse you of, but in the sacred way that honors your peace. You see, when you tend to your spirit, you give the world something whole, something steady. There is a power in the person who knows who they are becoming and does not need applause to continue. When you stop chasing attention, you start attracting alignment, the right people, the right energy, the right purpose. All of it finds its way to you when your heart is still and your mind is clear. There is no need to explain yourself committed to misunderstanding you. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them fill the silence with their own stories. You remain unmoved. Your silence will confuse them because they expect reaction. They expect noise. But you are building something divine in the quiet. You are crafting peace out of chaos, wisdom out of waiting. You are not lost. You are becoming. You are not absent. You are evolving. Every great change begins in stillness. Every rebirth begins in solitude. Protect that sacred space where no one's voice but your own can enter. Protect that time when you sit with your fears and face them, when you look at your scars and bless them, when you let go of what no longer fits your soul. There is nothing weak about walking away from noise. There is nothing small about choosing silence over explanation. The world will try to pull you into its chaos, but you must remember, peace is not found in the crowd, it is found within you, so stay silent, focus. Grow, let your work, your light, and your presence speak the loudest. There is a quiet kind of strength that comes when you stop explaining yourself to people who are not listening to understand. You learn that not every voice deserves a response, not every misunderstanding needs correction. Sometimes the best answer is your calm, the best revenge is your peace. The loudest declaration of self-worth is your silence. In that stillness you learn who you are, what you love, what you're capable of becoming. You learn that your growth doesn't need witnesses, it only needs your commitment. You start noticing the energy you used to waste proving your value, trying to be seen, trying to be enough. Now you redirect that energy inward, watering the garden of your own soul. You begin to wake up in the morning and thank yourself for trying again, for showing up even when no one clapped for you. You stop waiting for validation from the outside world because you finally understand that true confidence doesn't come from praise, it comes from peace. There are days when silence feels like loneliness. But it's not. It's healing. It's the sound of your own spirit learning to breathe again after being suffocated by comparison, approval, and expectations. It's the echo of your power returning home. You sit with your thoughts, and at first they're loud and restless, begging for distraction. But as time passes, you begin to hear something softer beneath the noise, and knowing a voice that's been waiting for you to listen. That's your truth, and once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. When you focus on yourself, the world may accuse you of arrogance, of detachment, of being selfish. But they do not understand that self-focus is not self-obsession. It's self-preservation. You are not ignoring the world, you are simply choosing not to lose yourself in it. You are giving yourself permission to outgrow what no longer serves you. You are choosing to rise, even if it means rising alone. There's a certain grace that comes when you stop defending your peace. You stop explaining why you don't go out as much, why you don't reply instantly, why your priorities have shifted. You let people think what they want because their opinions cannot touch your purpose. You realize that you do not owe your energy to anyone who drains it. You do not owe your presence to spaces that make you feel small. You do not owe your light to those who only seek warmth but not understanding. In silence, you meet your true self. You learn the beauty of being your own company. You start to love the rhythm of your solitude, the way the world slows down when you're not chasing it. You begin to trust your timing, your path, your pace. The things that once made you anxious. The future. People's opinions, outcomes beyond your control, lose their power. You breathe deeper. You walk lighter. You speak less, but when you do, your words carry weight. Silence teaches you to see beyond appearances. You begin to notice what's real. You see how people's noise often masks their pain, how arrogance hides insecurity, how judgment reflects fear. You stop taking things personally because you realize everyone is fighting battles you cannot see. You stop reacting because you're too busy evolving. You no longer fight every rumor, every misunderstanding, every slight. You understand that the truth will always reveal itself, and until it does, your peace is too precious to trade for temporary vindication. Focusing on yourself is not an escape, it's a return. A return to the things that mattered, to the dreams you once abandoned, to the inner strength that has always been there. You start asking yourself better questions. What makes me come alive? What kind of love do I deserve? What kind of peace am I willing to protect? And the answers come not in thunder or lightning, but in whispers, soft, steady whispers that guide you home to yourself. You learn to celebrate your own progress quietly. No announcement, no validation, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing you're not who you used to be. You're not reacting the way you once did. You're not seeking approval from places that never saw your worth. You become your own safe place. The world loves noise. It thrives on distraction. But there's nothing louder than a person who has learned to be still. The stillness becomes magnetic. People will sense it. They will feel it in your presence, in your calm, in the way you no longer chase what's not meant for you. They'll call it mystery. They'll call it change. But you'll know it's alignment. In this silence, you grow roots, you find clarity, you see where you've been giving too much of yourself to things that never poured back into you. You reclaim your energy from people who only called when they needed, from situations that drained more than they gave. You stop over-explaining, stop over-giving, stop overthinking. You learn the sacred art of the pause. You realize that sometimes not responding is the most powerful response. When you focus on yourself, your priorities rearrange. You stop seeking love from those who are unhealed. You stop proving your worth to those who can't see it. You start surrounding yourself with stillness and intention. You spend time with people who speak peace, not chaos, who listen more than they talk, who see growth as a quiet personal journey, not a public performance. You begin to understand that every time you choose yourself, the universe rearranges to honor that choice. New doors open, old patterns dissolve. You attract what mirrors your energy. The more you heal, the less you chase. The more you listen, the less you argue. The more you rest, the stronger you become. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means learning who deserves access. You can love people deeply and still keep your boundaries strong. You can care without carrying. You can forgive without returning. You can walk away without anger. This is the balance silence teaches. You start to recognize that not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some people are lessons, not lifelong companions. You thank them for their part in your story and release them without bitterness. You stop forcing connections that don't flow naturally. You stop clinging to what keeps you stagnant. You learn to let go gracefully. In your stillness, you also face the parts of yourself you once ran from. The insecurities, the fears, the old wounds. You meet them with compassion instead of judgment. You learn that healing isn't about pretending you're unhurt. It's about acknowledging your pain and choosing peace anyway. You learn to forgive yourself for the times you settled, the times you stayed too long, the times you forgot your worth. That forgiveness becomes your freedom. As you focus inward, you start realizing that success isn't loud. It doesn't always look like applause or recognition. Sometimes success is just peace in your heart. It's waking up without anxiety. It's knowing you did your best and resting in that truth. It's the quiet confidence of knowing who you are and refusing to shrink to fit anyone's comfort. The more you honor your silence, the sharper your intuition becomes. You start sensing energy before words are spoken. You begin to feel who's genuine and who's pretending. You start trusting those small inner nudges that say, not this, not them, not now. That's wisdom being born out of silence. There's a certain beauty in realizing you don't need to control everything. You release the grip. You stop trying to make people understand, to make life move faster, to make outcomes happen on your timeline. You begin to trust the rhythm of life, the delays, the pauses, the detours. You understand that silence is not the absence of progress, it's the soil where progress takes root. People may misunderstand your quietness. They may call you distant, cold, detached. But you'll smile because you know you're not withdrawing from life. You're simply choosing peace over performance. You've learned that protecting your energy is not selfish. It's necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot love deeply while living drained. In the stillness, you rediscover the small joys, watching the sunrise, reading words that move your soul. Sitting in the calm after a storm, listening to your own breath, you find beauty in the simple act of being. You no longer rush through moments trying to reach the next thing. You begin to live deliberately. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean you stop giving. It means you give from fullness, not depletion. You no longer seek to fix others because you understand that healing cannot be forced. It must be chosen. You love people where they are, but you no longer lose yourself trying to save them. You realize your peace is your responsibility. As your silence deepens, your presence expands. You become someone who brings calm into rooms. Your energy speaks before your words do. People may not understand what's changed, but they will feel it. They will sense the strength behind your softness, the clarity behind your quiet. You begin to see how the universe honors still hearts, how everything you once chased starts flowing toward you naturally. The job, the relationship, the peace, all of it comes when you no longer chase but attract, when you no longer speak from fear but act from faith, when you no longer react to noise but move with intention. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you are building strength. Every time you focus inward instead of outward, you are building wisdom. Every time you walk away from chaos without explanation, you are building peace. And that peace will become your foundation. In this space of silence, you learn that not everything deserves your energy, not every battle needs your sword, not every question needs an answer. You start saving your words for what matters, saving your emotions for those who honor them. You live slower, softer, wiser. You realize that peace doesn't come when everything is calm around you. It comes when everything is calm within you. You could be standing in the middle of noise, chaos, uncertainty, and still feel grounded, because you've built your stillness on the inside, and so you continue, growing quietly, healing privately, shining silently. The world may not see the work you're doing, but it will feel the change, for when a person is focused on themselves and stays silent, the whole world begins to listen differently. There is something sacred about the moment you finally stop chasing noise and begin to listen to the quiet hum of your own soul. The world teaches you to keep talking, to keep showing, to keep proving, as if existence itself depends on being noticed. But when you start to focus on yourself, you realize that the most beautiful things grow in silence. Seeds do not shout when they are becoming trees. The moon does not announce its glow. The tide does not beg the shore to notice it. They simply are, and that is enough. When you turn inward, you begin to see how much of your life has been spent trying to be seen. You have performed for attention, spoken to fill silence, tried to impress people who were too distracted to listen. And yet the moment you step back, you start to understand your value has never been dependent on anyone's awareness of it. The world does not make you worthy. You were worthy the moment you arrived here. You were born enough. Focusing on yourself means reclaiming that truth. It means untangling your worth from their applause. It means learning that peace doesn't always look like success, and success doesn't always sound like applause. Sometimes peace is turning off your phone. Sometimes it's saying no when your heart wants rest. Sometimes it's choosing quiet walks instead of crowded rooms. Sometimes it's letting people go without resentment. The world may not understand your silence. They may ask, "Why don't you talk anymore?" They may miss the version of you that was always available, always loud, always explaining. But you'll smile softly because you know silence is not absence. Silence is presence, deeper and clearer than words can carry. It's where your truth gathers strength. When you are silent, you begin to notice things others miss. The way your body reacts when something is wrong, the way your spirit lights up when something feels right. You begin to read the unspoken in faces, in energies, in your own reflection. You start to move differently. You speak only when it adds value. You stop rushing to correct misunderstandings because you've learned that time reveals everything. You no longer fight to be understood because peace has become more important than being right. There's a liberation that comes with focusing on yourself. You stop waiting for someone to save you, to see you, to choose you. You realize you have been the answer all along. The love you were searching for was within you. The validation you craved was waiting for you to believe in your own reflection. You stop chasing because nothing that truly belongs to you will ever need to be chased. In the stillness, you begin to heal. The quiet becomes a sanctuary, a place where the noise of the world can't reach you. You meet your own heart and see how strong it has been, how it kept beating even when life felt heavy. You honor the parts of you that survived without applause. You give thanks to the parts of you that still hope, still dream, rise. When you focus on yourself, you start to see your growth not as a performance but as a prayer. You don't need to announce every step. You don't need to explain your silence. Growth, real growth, is not about being seen. It's about being whole. You learn that sometimes disappearing for a while is not running away, it's returning to yourself. You will lose people when you choose silence. That is inevitable. Some will leave because they can no longer feed on your attention. Some will misunderstand your peace for pride. Some will grow uncomfortable with your calm because it mirrors their own chaos. But that's alright. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your healing. The ones meant for you will meet you in your quiet and understand. In your solitude, you begin to rebuild your energy. You stop pouring into places that give nothing back. You learn the art of sacred detachment, loving without clinging, giving without losing yourself, caring without collapsing. You understand that you can be kind and still have boundaries. You can be silent and still be powerful. You can walk away and still be loving. Silence is not the absence of voice, it's the mastery of it. It's knowing when to speak, when to pause, and when to walk away. It's realizing that every word carries weight and that peace is too expensive to waste on meaningless battles. You stop arguing to prove your worth because your worth is no longer in question. You stop chasing closure from others because you've learned to give it to yourself. The more you focus inward, the more you understand that your journey is not about competing or comparing. It's about unfolding. It's about meeting yourself over and over, learning, shedding, and rising. You stop asking, why them, and start asking, what is this teaching me? You stop waiting for a perfect moment and realize that every moment is an opportunity to choose yourself again. Silence teaches you to trust the process. It teaches you that not everything needs to be seen to be working. The caterpillar disappears before it flies. The roots grow in darkness before the flower blooms. The transformation always happens in the quiet. You begin to respect your own timing. You no longer rush what needs to happen. You no longer beg the universe for shortcuts. You let things take shape as they must, in their own time. When you are silent, you hear the whisper of your intuition, that small, steady voice that's always known the way. You learn to listen without panic. You stop overanalyzing, stop forcing signs, stop begging for clarity. You simply trust that what's for you will not miss you. And that deep, unshakable trust becomes the foundation of your peace. You start to see your silence as a form of self-respect. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to argue to be right. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your calm speaks volumes. Your peace becomes magnetic. Your energy becomes sacred ground. People will notice the difference. They'll sense your strength even when you say nothing. That's the kind of power silence builds. You find that your relationships shift. You no longer entertain chaos disguised as love. You no longer chase people who half choose you. You no longer beg to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. You learn to value quality over quantity in friendships, in conversations, in everything. You stop filling silence with meaningless talk because your peace has become precious. The more you sit with yourself, the more you realize how much noise was never yours to carry. Opinions, the gossip, the expectations, the guilt, you let them fall away like old leaves. You no longer measure yourself by what others think you should be. You begin to define yourself by what brings you peace, what aligns with your soul, what helps you grow. Focusing on yourself does not mean isolation, it means elevation. It means giving yourself the space to evolve without the world's permission. It means saying, I am enough, even in my quietest moments. It means honoring your own rhythm. Resting when you need rest, creating when you feel inspired, retreating when your soul asks for stillness. And the silence, it becomes your teacher. It teaches patience when the world rushes. It teaches clarity when confusion clouds your path. It teaches humility when ego whispers for attention. It teaches gratitude for the small, unseen miracles that happen every day. The breath in your lungs, the sun rising again, the peace that returns after every storm. You come to understand that silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. It holds the wisdom of every lesson you've learned, every heartbreak you've healed, every dream that still beats quietly in your chest. It is the sound of resilience, of endurance, of faith. It's the proof that even when life breaks you, you can still rise whole. You stop performing for the world and start living for your soul. You realize that you don't have to post your healing to prove your healing. You don't have to announce your peace to show you have it. You simply live it. You let your life whisper your truth in every actions, every silent victory. And as you continue focusing on yourself, you start noticing how life begins to align effortlessly. Opportunities appear where there were once obstacles. The right people find you without effort. The wrong ones drift away without confrontation. You stop chasing and start attracting because you've become a magnet for peace, not chaos. You'll look back one day and realize that your silence was never emptiness. It was preparation. It was power gathering strength. It was your spirit realigning with purpose. It was your becoming. So you keep walking quietly, not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally understand that silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. You stay still, not because you've given up, but because you've learned that not everything deserves your movement. You stay focused, not because you're selfish, but because your peace is sacred. You'll realize that life doesn't demand constant noise. It demands in presence. It demands you to be fully here with yourself for yourself. And that, more than anything, is where power lives. Because the one who focuses on themselves and stays silent isn't retreating, they're rising, quietly, deeply, completely. And so when the noise fades and the world grows quiet, you will find yourself standing in the calm, not lost, not broken, but whole. You will realize that all along you were never waiting for the world to understand you, you were learning to understand yourself. The silence that once felt heavy will now feel holy. The solitude that once felt lonely will now feel like power. Because when you focus on yourself, you rise beyond comparison, beyond chaos, beyond the need to be seen. You become your own home, your own peace, your own proof that healing is not loud, it is steady, it is patient, it is yours. Let them talk, let them guess, let them misunderstand. You stay silent, stay steady, stay grounded in who you are becoming. For one day the world will see what silence was shaping, and it will be undeniable. The most powerful voice is not always the one that shouts, sometimes it is the one that simply is.